We are going. Heaven knows where we are going, but we know we will. We are going. Heaven knows where we are going. We know we're there. We will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. We are going. Heaven knows where we are going. We know we're there. We will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there. We know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there. We know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there. We know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. We are going. Heaven knows where we are going. We'll know we're there. Oh yeah, yeah. 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 We'll know we're there.
I knew how it would feel to be free. I wish I could break all chains still binding me, yeah. Wish I could say all the things that I I can say when I'm relaxed. I'd be starting anew. I wish I could be like a bird in the sky. Don't leave me. How sweet it would be to find that I could fly. I'd soar to the sun and look down at the sea. Then I'd sing, 'cause I know how it feels to be free. Then I'd sing, 'cause I know how it feels to be free. I wish I could share all the love that's in my heart. Wish I could break all the things that bind us apart. Wish you could know what it means to be me. You'd see, you'd agree, everybody should be free, 'cause if we ain't, we're murderous. Wish I could be like a bird in the sky. How sweet it would be if I could find that I could fly soar to the sun, look down and see me. I know, yes, I know. Oh yeah, spirit's moving now. I know, got news for you, I already know. Jonathan Livingston Seagull ain't got nothing on me. Free, 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 free. I'm free, and I know it. Don't wanna be and I show it, but I'm still free. Believe in me, it's alright. Then I'd sing, 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 'cause I would know. I already know. I already know.
wish.
See we one another clearly. Do we know who we are?
What?
Do you know who I am?
Yes.
Do I know who you are?
Where?
See we one another clearly. Do we know who we are? Oh, so is life a fuck you all. So is life. Oh, so is life a fuck you all. So is life. Water make the river wash the mountain. Fire make the sunlight turn the world around.
What?
Heart is of the river, body is the mountain,
is the
spirit
mountain,
is the
I'm the
sunlight, turn the
mountain.
world around. We are of the spirit, truly of the spirit. Only can the spirit turn the world around. Whoa, so is life a better world. So is life. Oh, so is life a better world. So is life. Whoa, so is life a better world. So is life. Whoa, so is life a better world. Hey, so is life.
We ring this bell 3 times. The first is to call us into relationship with those to whom we owe a debt, to those whom we share the interdependent web of all existence. Specifically, we reach out to celebrate our forebears who preceded us here and who once occupied this land most of us now call home. The second calls us into relationship with ourselves and with one another, that we learn to grow in wisdom and compassion and generosity, and that we reach out so that our hearts encompass all people the world over. And third, we ring the bell to call us into relationship with our children, with our children's children out to the 7th generation, helping us to realize that what we do now, or what we fail to do, will be felt by those who come after us.
These last months have highlighted the need for urgent, deep, and lasting systemic change. At UUSC, we believe that the transformational solutions we need, solutions that fundamentally shift us toward a world that prioritizes human rights, thriving communities, and a healthy planet, that these solutions come from grassroots leaders and communities most impacted by injustice. This belief is at the heart of UUSC's work. It fuels our partnership model in which we strive to listen deeply, follow the lead, collaborate with, and resource community organizations on the front lines of advancing change. I'd like to invite you to be part of advancing that change by getting to know some of these partners and joining us for this year's Guest at Your Table, UUSC's longtime annual program and our most significant source of financial support from congregations. Recognizing the enormity of today's human rights challenges and the importance of continuing the momentum for social change, our Guest at Your Table theme for this fall through spring 2022 is Now is the Time for Courageous Change. Through the stories our featured guests will share, with worship resources, religious education materials, and more, I invite you and your congregation to learn about our partners' priorities and visions for the future, with the goal of supporting this work, joining these partners in solidarity, and together with UUSC, making strides toward a world transformed by justice. Because it's plain that now is the time for transformational, comprehensive, justice-seeking, grassroots-led, courageous change. I hope you will join us.
Good morning. Welcome to Mission Peak Unitarian Universalist Congregation. My name is Annette Bringen, and I'm a member of the board. We are so glad you joined us this morning. Unitarian Universalism is a radically inclusive, non-doctrinal, non-dogmatic, open-minded, and open-hearted faith. We are all coming at truth from different paths. We gather together across different identities, experiences, and beliefs to affirm and promote the inherent worth of every person. Together, we work to love this world, to heal the hurt in ourselves and one another, and to be the change we'd like to see in the world. Maybe you're here for the first time. If so, we are glad to welcome you. We will shortly post a link in the chat to our welcome email and to our weekly newsletter so you can see upcoming events. We encourage you to sign up and to join anything that speaks to you. We use the chat in Zoom or our Joys and Concerns book by over to your left to share short and significant personal milestones, which will be read later aloud in the service. We have social hour after the service, where we get to visit with one another in breakout rooms or on the patio. The worship host will give you more information about this immediately after the service. We ask that you please silence your electronic devices. Masks are required inside and outside of Cole Hall. There is more information about our safety policy on the bulletin board to your left and in Week on the Peak. There are a few additional announcements today. We will be having an in-person holiday potluck on Saturday, December 11th at 6 p.m. Please join us in person here at Cole Hall if you feel comfortable doing so, or join us on Zoom. More detailed information is available in the online order of service and in Week on the Peak. If you would like to volunteer to be the Zoom host for the online potluck, please let Jen King know. We are collecting winter donations for abode services on Sundays through December 12th. The list of items needed is in the online order of service and in the Week on the Peak. Please drop off your donations in the collection box here or at Jen King's home. Another option is to give a monetary donation to Jen, and she will purchase items to give to Abode. Please be as generous as possible. No used items are please. If you hear or see something in this morning's service that inspires you, makes you laugh, or brings you hope, please share it on social media or just tell a friend. We are trying to start a wave of love and justice with every gathering. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. I am here with a pulpitorial to explain how, sort of to plant some seeds with the congregation so that you'll be aware of what's upcoming in the next 8 months having to do with the 8th principle of the UUA. So you may recall we had an October 10th service with Bruce Pollock Johnson, one of the co-authors of the 8th principle. We had a November 17th call with several congregations regarding social justice initiatives that we were planning on engaging in. We have 12 people who are participating in our Rewire class, anti-racism class with Reverend Greg. We're hoping to partner with the Methodists, as we usually do, on MLK Junior Day. And we will host Paula Cole-Jones, another co-author of the Eighth Principle, for a worship service on January 23rd, and a workshop following the service to help us understand where the Eighth Principle is and how we come and why we need it, and why we need it now. We have 3 worship services in the 6 months starting in January to consider the legacy of racism in this country and its impact on various cultures. And we, as the anti-racism team of Mission Peak, are lobbying Fremont Councilwoman Teresa Cox, to have a Fremont hosting its very first Juneteenth celebration next June. We'd love to count on all of you to attend the January 23rd workshop with Paula Cole-Jones. She says that if we get 15 to 20 people to attend the workshop, we'll gain enough traction to understand the issue responsibly. Thank you.
We sing up together our song of thanksgiving, rejoicing in good which the ages have wrought, for life that enfolds us, and helps and heals and holds us, and leads beyond the goals which our forebears once sought. We sing of the freedoms which martyrs and heroes have won, when they labor, their sorrow, their pain, the oppressors befriending, our anger hopes defending, their death becomes a triumph, they died not in vain.
We sing of the prophets, the teachers, the dreamers, designers, creators, and workers and seers, our own lives expanding, our gratitude commending. Their deeds have made immortal their days and their years.
We sing of community now in the making, in every far continent, region, and land, with those of all races, all times and names and places. We pledge ourselves in covenant, firmly to stand. We pledge ourselves in covenant, firmly to stand.
Good morning, I'm Valerie Stewart. Please join me in the chalice lighting when the words come up. Thank you. We light this chalice to remind ourselves to treat all people kindly, because we are all one family, to take good care of the earth because it is our home, to live lives full of goodness and love, because that is how we will become the best people we can be. And now is the time for all ages.
In today's story, I want to introduce you to 4 people who live in different parts of the world, but are all working with UUSC to help their communities have more justice and more resilience. Justice is another word for making things fair, and resilience means having the ability to heal after bad or hard things happen. Even though we don't have a chance to meet them in person, I want you to imagine they're coming over for dinner with you and your family. Think of them as a dinner guest, telling you an interesting story over a big plate of your favorite food. All over the country, other kids like you are imagining the same dinner party and learning about the same people as part of a program called Guest at Your Table. The program is a chance to learn about 4 courageous people making a difference in their communities. This year, the 4 people we're going to meet are Axel, Myra, Maina, and Christian. First, I want to introduce you to Axel, who lives in Missouri. Axel works with the people who work in the food processing factories in the Midwestern United States. Many of the food service workers Axel works with are immigrants and refugees. Without them, we wouldn't have a lot of the food we find in our grocery stores. They feed our whole country. But even though they have this very important job, food service workers are often treated badly by the people that own the factories. They don't make much money, they are forced to work for a long time without breaks, and they had to work all through the COVID pandemic without many of the simple items that would have helped them be safer from the virus. To fight back against these unfair conditions, Axel is helping to organize people who work in these food processing factories so they can work together to get better working conditions for themselves and their communities. Next, I want to tell you about Myra, an activist who lives in the United States now, but she's originally from a country called Burma. Burma is also sometimes called Myanmar. When Myra was a little girl, her village was attacked by the country's military, and she was forced to flee her house along with her family. They weren't able to bring anything with them when they ran, and they all had to travel through the forest for many days before they reached the country next door. Eventually, Myra was able to move to the United States. Now that she is safe, Myra speaks out on behalf of the many people still in Burma who are facing the same military violence that Myra went through as a little girl. What Myra and her family went through was very scary, and making sure this kind of violence stops is very important to her. Myra is using her voice to call attention to what is happening to the people of Burma now. The third person I want to introduce you to is Maina Talia. Maina lives in Kiowa Island, which is part of the nation of Fiji in the South Pacific. Many countries in this part of the world are facing the impacts of climate change now. They are losing land to the ocean as sea levels rise. Kiowa Island has a higher elevation than many of its neighbors. This means that Kiowa Island will be a safer place to live as sea levels continue to rise. In order to prepare for welcoming new people to Kiowa Island, Maina and the members of the Kiowa Island Community Organization are working together to create community resilience by making plans and planting trees that will help the island withstand the forces of climate change. Lastly, I want to introduce you to Christian, who's from Nicaragua. In Nicaragua, many farmers have a hard time making a living because giant agricultural companies own the land, the farming equipment, and even the seeds. Christian and the other women in their farming cooperative are doing things a little bit differently. They care for their own land. They use traditional farming practices that do not harm the soil, And they plant a variety of different kinds of seeds that have been used by their communities for generations. This way of farming helps the land heal and helps women gain financial and social independence. Christiane is helping her community build resilience from both climate change and violence against women with their feminist farming cooperative. I hope these stories were a chance to learn about the challenges this year's 4 guests are facing and how they are fighting for what is fair and for what is right, while also helping their communities become more resilient. Through Guest at Your Table, your congregation and other congregations around the country are helping provide the guests with the resources to do their work. Together, we can make a better and fairer world. Thank you.
We come together to support one another and the ministries that infuse worth and dignity into our children, our youth, our programs of learning and leadership, and our ministries in the larger world, including our efforts towards anti-racism and anti-oppression. To donate to Mission Peak Congregation, you can mail your check to MPUUC P.O. Box 545, Fremont, California. And you can use bill pay. You can drop envelopes in the mail slot on the door, and you can pay online, as it says, with credit or debit cards. Please make a contribution towards these worthy causes by mailing your check to Mission Peak at the address on the screen. Oh, I said that. Your contributions make loving and learning and leadership more possible. Thank you for supporting and sustaining our members and friends and staff.
One of the things that allows us to find hope and meaning, especially in the hard times, is the love and support that we give each other. If you have a joy or concern that by sharing it with the larger caring community might bring encouragement and resilience that you're needing, please write it briefly in the chat. If you are here in person and would like to take a stone for a joy or concern, you may do so while the music plays. We have a sandbox up here. If you need personal support, you can send an email to our minister for a follow-up conversation. Last stone for the hopes and hurts still too tender to share. May this, for the sake of love, keep our doors and our hearts and our minds and our arms open.
Please join with me in the spirit of this reading. This reading is called Choose to Bless the World. It is written by the Reverend Dr. Rebecca Parker. Your gifts, whatever you discover them to be, can be used to bless or curse the world. The mind's power, the strength of the hands, the reaches of the heart, the gift of speaking, of listening, of imagining, seeing, waiting. Any of these can serve to feed the hungry, bind up wounds, welcome the stranger, praise what is sacred, do the work of justice, or offer love. Any of these can draw down the prison door, hoard bread, abandon the poor, obscure what is holy, comply with injustice, or withhold love. You must answer this question: what will you do with your gifts? Choose to bless the world. The choice to bless the world is more than an act of will, a moving forward into the world with the intention to do good. It is an act of recognition, a confession of surprise, a grateful acknowledgement that in the midst of a broken world, unspeakable beauty, grace, and mystery abide. There is an embrace of kindness that encompasses all life, even yours. And while there is injustice, anesthetization, or evil, there moves a holy disturbance, a benevolent rage, a revolutionary love, protesting, urging, insisting. That which is sacred will not be defiled. Those who bless the world live their life as a gesture of thanks for this beauty and this rage. The choice to bless the world can take you into solitude, to search for the sources of power and grace, native wisdom, healing, and liberation. More, the choice will draw you into community, the endeavor shared, the heritage passed on, the companionship of struggle, the importance of keeping faith, the life of ritual and praise, the comfort of human friendship, the company of earth, the chorus of life welcoming you. None of us alone can save the world. Together, that is another possibility waiting.
To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time for every purpose under heaven. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to reap, a time to kill, a time to heal, a time to laugh, a is a season, turn, 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 and a time for every purpose under heaven. A time to build up, a time to break down, a time to dance, a time to mourn, a time to cast away stones, a time to gather stones together. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, 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 and a time for every purpose under heaven. A time of love, a time of hate, a time of war, a time of peace. There are times when we may embrace, and times when we must refrain from embracing. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, 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 and a time for every purpose under heaven. A time to gain, a time to lose, a time to rend, a time to sow, a time to hate, a time to love, a time for peace. I swear it's not too late. It's time for peace. I swear it's not too late.
Perhaps you have heard or read the parable of the starfish thrower before. The tale comes from Loren Eiseley, mid-20th century scientist and philosopher, who recounts meeting a person on a beach after a storm which has washed thousands of starfish onto the shore. This person seeks out the living starfish and flings them back into the sea, where they may survive. After contemplating the seeming futility of such an endeavor in the face of a problem so large, Eiseley recognizes the hope and defiance in taking such action. Eiseley finishes his tale by writing, "I looked back across my shoulder to see the star thrower stoop and fling once more. And then I never looked again. The task we had assumed was too immense for gazing. All about us roared the insatiable waters of death, but we, alone and small in that immensity, hurled back the living stars." I recently visited a natural treasure about an hour outside of Boston, Purgatory Chasm State Park. The park is on land cherished and traditionally protected by Nipmuc peoples, a tribe of now 600 living in Massachusetts. The half-mile-long chasm is a treacherous hike. A slow pace is needed to navigate the incredible scale and danger of the chasm, the stones, large and small, that jut beneath and loom above the hikers. Stone is often considered a symbol of patience and the slow and steady pace of change. Boulders worn by elements and gigantic canyons carved out by tiny streams. I am reassured by the long view perspective of time that is revealed in stone. The stones at Purgatory Chasm, though, offer a different meaning. This immense breach in the earth was created in an instant, a moment of immediate, dramatic, disruptive, violent change. Scientists now believe the chasm was formed by the sudden release of glacial meltwater 14,000 years ago. Change sometimes happens like that. Stone is sometimes shaped by sheer and urgent power in an instant. Right now, these days, that image of change is more resonant than the slow, steady force of a small stream carving a canyon, though both hold important truths. In his reflection on saving the starfish along the ocean shore, Lauren Isley writes, "All about us roared the insatiable waters of death." For me, this line brings to mind the creatures and plants and habitat lost in that dramatic moment of change 14,000 years ago at Purgatory Chasm. Water roaring from above, melted who knows how much earlier and working for who knows how long to find its escape, but forming the landscape in an instant. All about us roar the insatiable waters of death. Isley saw this from the perspective of the starfish's life and his own. We can see it in the indifference of a virus and the intimate violence of racism. We're at a rare time in history when so much is revealed by the rapid change and disruption of this moment. What's revealed isn't anything new. What's revealed is what too many of us manage not to see. Even as we've understood, as Dr. King reminded us, that what affects one affects all, many of us turn away. I believe not always because we don't care, but largely because we underestimate our power. And then often, those of us with various forms of privilege, we get comfortable, and our gaze remains fixed on those truths that soothe us. The shaking of so many foundations around us has forced us to see so vividly much more than many ordinarily see. Horrific inequity, systems designed precisely to maintain the castes among us, the complicity of silence, and the seductive comfort of our perceived powerlessness. The seductive comfort of our perceived powerlessness. These times are urgently calling on us to remember and use our power. That's right, power. Did you know UUSC's mission includes an affirmation of the inherent power and dignity of all people? For Unitarian Universalists, so accustomed to repeating the beautiful words of our first principles, it's easy to read right over that small but significant difference. It's not denying inherent worth, that's implied, but the addition of power is significant. At UUSC, we affirm the inherent dignity and power of all people. The power of compassion that demands our hands and minds and hearts be engaged in fulfilling the promise of human dignity and worth. The power of faithful imagination, the refusal to give in to the cynicism and powerlessness that tyrants and empires depend upon to thrive. These times are urgently calling on us to remember and use our power. Can you see it? Your power, can you feel it? Sit up a little straighter, take a breath. Can you feel your power? Not always. right? I know that's true for me, especially these days. These days, I'm feeling pretty small, less able than ever to accomplish anything. The roar gets inside me and I feel alone. I feel so much fear and grief and powerlessness. Okay, shake that off. I'm not going to ask you to deny those feelings, but I really hope we can all come to see something more. We've come here today because we know that religious community will hold us when we feel small and alone. Community will call us back to the power that we each carry, that we recognize in each other, that is called out from us in community. We show up, we are here together today because we believe that ministry, our shared ministry, will comfort us and confront us, will call us to our power. I invite you to call the name of someone who has reminded you of your dignity, your worth, and your power. And now call to mind memories of the power that has arisen from communities you are a part of, from this congregation. Prophetic witness in the larger community, calls for justice and healing, actions that were part of movements that brought about actual change. Friends, you have what you need to create a better world. We have what we need to enact courageous change. I'm inspired when I see this in communities and congregations. I am also deeply inspired every day by the fierce power of the grassroots partners who are the heart of UUSC's mission. We believe and know from experience that partnering with communities most deeply impacted by injustice is the most faithful and the most effective way to contribute to a better world. This is what UUSC's Guest at Your Table program has been highlighting for decades, offering us the chance to learn more deeply the stories of 4 of our grassroots partners. These guests invite us each year into more profound solidarity with them and the communities they serve. Our partner, Axel Fuentes from the Rural Community Workers Alliance, or RCWA, is organizing food processing factory workers in the Midwestern United States, building coalitions through organizers that speak the language and know the culture of the workers they collaborate with. Together, they are tapping into their power to demand safer working conditions that honor everyone's dignity. Axel says, UUSC's support has been one of the most important pieces for RWCA to be able to survive and make progress as a grassroots organization in the fight for the rights of all people. Myra Doggipaw is a member of the Karen ethnic minority and director of the U.S. campaign for Burma. She's drawing on her experience as someone targeted by the Burmese military junta as a child to bring attention to the crisis happening in Burma today. She advocates for Burmese ethnic minorities and pro-democracy demonstrators with a vision for a peaceful country that has achieved a true democratic state where the power lies with the people, not with the military, and a country that finally realizes that inclusivity makes us stronger. Our partner, Maina Talia, from Kio Island Community Organization in the South Pacific, is working to make the communities of Kio Island resilient to the forces of climate change for the sake of future generations, and to serve as a refuge for those living on neighboring islands with even lower elevations. The island must provide agricultural support, moral support, and have climate-proof structures to ensure the continuity of our people, Maina says. Our vision is to build community resilience. UUSC is especially honored to be working with the Kio Community Organization as their first funder. Our last guest this year, Christian Guzman-Merlo is the co-director of UUSC partner Fundación Entre Mujeres, or FEM, organized by and for rural peasant women in Nicaragua. FEM is both a feminist farming collective and an advocacy network, linking 21 communities to bolster the economic, political, and social empowerment of women. The intersectional approach of FEM, seeing the connections between healing the land and healing the wounds of violence against women, offers a profound and necessary model of justice for the world. Christian shares that what FEM wants is a collective transformation in the communities of this country and all over the world. I am so grateful for what I learn every day about fierce power from UUSC's grassroots partners, such as Axel, Myra, Maina, and Christian. People who experience the intimate violence of oppression every day and still know their dignity and power. People who lead the way in enacting courageous change. These times are urgently calling us to remember and use our power. Friends, we have what we need to contribute to creating a better world. I want to thank those of you who are connected with the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee through our shared work for justice and with your financial support. UUSC is a member-supported organization that receives no funding from the UUA. We cannot do this work without you. I hope that today's service inspires every one of you to become part of UUSC's justice-loving, justice-seeking community. In closing, I'd like to invite the voices of some of my UUSC colleagues to share a little more about the work we are doing in collaboration with you, our UUSC supporters, and our grassroots partners around the world. Thank you for inviting a guest to your table and supporting this important work.
UUSC is an international human rights organization. We're grounded in the principles of Unitarian Universalism and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. At UUSC, we seek to advance human rights, dismantle systems of oppression, and uphold the inherent dignity and worth of every human being.
Founded in 1940, UUSC addresses the needs of people who've been ignored or overlooked, working in places where the larger aid agencies often do not.
We are committed to building upon a legacy that is rooted in locally led initiatives, working hand in hand, eye to eye, and heart to heart with community leaders and grassroots organizations in the United States and around the world.
Today, UUSC has over 30,000 members, partnering with more than 40 grassroots organizations. Our programs span across 20 countries in Asia, the South Pacific, Central America, and the United States.
We do our work in 3 ways: through advocacy and action with UU congregations, UUSC members, and our incredible volunteers, through education and experiences with the UU College of Social Justice, and through grant-making, convenings, and collaborative research.
With our partners, we address human rights issues including disaster justice, emergency relief in the face of natural or human-made crises, climate action, working with communities who are losing their homes due to climate change, and criminalization, partnering with communities who are targeted simply for their activism or being who they are, immigrants, LGBTQ people, and ethnic and religious minorities.
And this past year, we have been working with our grassroots partners to meet the unique human rights challenges presented by the COVID-19 crisis.
We know that UUSC members expect us to always be learning and be bold in our programming and our commitment to human rights.
We want you to have confidence in our work. UUSC is a terrific investment for your philanthropic support. Our budget goes far to accomplish so much for human rights in the U.S. and around the world.
And for 10 years running, UUSC has earned 4 stars, the highest possible rating from Charity Navigator, because of our effectiveness and fiscal transparency.
It is an exciting time at UUSC. We are grateful to you and to all of our members for your partnership and for putting your faith in us. You make our work possible. Thank you.
Thank you, UUSC supporters.
Thank you for everything you do.
Thank you so much for your support.
And thank you for putting your faith in us.
For all that you do to advance human rights.
We really appreciate it.
We couldn't do the work we do around the world without you.
Thank you so much for your support.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you know that Unitarian Universalists have been coming together for decades to support human rights through the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee's Guest at Your Table program? During this special program, UUs of all ages learn more about important issues and the groups, or partner organizations, UUSC works together with to advance human rights. Working with community-based groups like UUSC Partners is a great way to get help directly to folks after disasters like a hurricane, and helps make sure the needs that are most important to communities are being met. UUSC works with more than 50 partner organizations around the globe, together responding to humanitarian crises, gender-based violence, persecution of activists, climate change, and more. Guest at Your Table is a chance to get to know our partners and these issues better through learning the stories of 4 people connected to UUSC partners as if we were sharing a meal together. They are the guests in Guest at Your Table. After getting to know the guests, UU spread the word about human rights and raise much needed funds for UUSC partners. From supporting youth leadership trainings, to amplifying their voices to world leaders, to buying needed supplies after a natural disaster, our partners request our help with all sorts of projects that make a difference in their communities. Through Guest at Your Table, Unitarian Universalists form a mighty web that helps support UUSC partners in their important work. Thank you for helping keep this important tradition going strong and joining us in the Guest at Your Table program.
We're gonna sit at the welcome table. We're gonna sit at the welcome table one of these days. Hallelujah. We're gonna sit at the welcome table. We're gonna sit at the welcome table one of these days. And there'll be all kinds of people around that table. All kinds of people around that table one of these days. Hallelujah. All kinds of people around that table. All kinds of people around these days, we'll all be good friends and equals at the welcome table. We'll all be good friends and equals at the welcome table. One of these days, hallelujah, we'll be good friends and equals at the welcome table. Good friends and equals at the welcome table. One of these days, we're gonna sit at the welcome table. We're gonna sit at the welcome table. One of these days, hallelujah. We're gonna sit at the welcome table. Yeah, we're gonna sit at the welcome table. One of these days, we're gonna sit at the welcome table. One of these days.
Before I extinguish the flame, for the next few Sundays at the table where the Joys and Concerns book is before service, we'll have boxes for guests at your table. And occasionally our youth are making placemats, so if you don't make one for yourself, you might be able to pick up one there. So if you would join me in extinguishing our chalice, we extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Friends, reach out your hands, but also reach out your heart. Reach out your vision, reach out with your imagination, reach out with everything that you are so that those who have had their worth and dignity used against their will or commodified have a chance to reach out into their vision and their imagination with your help. Let us take into our heart and invite to our table those people who gather like us to know inherent worth and dignity and share it as a blessing with the world. And may we all discover what is truly meant by the interdependent web of all existence. May our reach be felt the world over. Amen.